There is nothing happening outside of you because, first and foremost, there is truly nothing happening at all. What we claim to be the outside doesn't truly exist in the way we think it does. Stick with me on this one. I'll try not to make this confusing. Allow this to be as simple as possible and see everything I'm about to point you to. No need to think about it too much. I promise that approach won't work. I want you to notice something right now, local around in your present environment. This is what we call the world, and nothing is actually happening out there. Nothing at all. Whatever your mind was just narrating about it, that's not what any of this is. Nothing is happening until you believe there is. Nothing is happening until you adopt the mind and believe in the narratives it's creating about the world. And that applies to everything right now. It may believe I am a person here, watching this video, listening to someone speak. That is a narrative of the mind, and it makes sense to the mind, correct? But isn't that whole narrative and belief created by the mind? And because it's believed in and because it makes sense, it appears real. Or I'll say, you believe it to be the truth. But in reality, in truth, that's not what's happening at all. Nothing is happening. The moment you let go of that belief and narrative, whatever it's saying is happening right now, whatever it thinks it knows, it's only appearing to happen within you. Notice it's a thought because nothing is happening outside of that. What happens if you drop the story of, I am a person sitting here listening to this video? What's a person if you do that? What is a video? What's happening without the mind trying to explain what's happening? Don't be afraid to drop into not knowing anything at all. This is where you will find reality. The truth is in not knowing. It's not found in knowledge. You see, the mind is a filter over reality. It's a tool that consciousness uses to play, and of course it's very useful for this playground. But nothing is actually happening here when you put that tool aside. According to the mind, it's created 8 billion people, 8 billion bodies. But outside of whatever the mind believes this world is, and outside of whatever the mind believes the body and others are, none of that is true. Because what is the body when there is no label given to it? What are others when the idea of separation isn't adopted? What is anything when language is seen as nothing? Language has no true meaning. The mind just gave it meaning by using more language. Isn't that amazing? What are you when you completely let go of looking for an identity? When the identification with the body is no longer believed in because it is a belief 100%. You only believe to be the body because you believe the feelings you feel mean something. You believe they are evidence, and they are telling you this is me. But they aren't. The mind is doing that. Where is the body when the label body isn't attached to anything? If you can look and feel what we call the body without labeling it or identifying with it, you don't know what it is. Have a childlike curiosity with it. You're not trying to figure out what it is. You're completely appreciating it and playing with it without the need of the mental world's ideas of it. You can play with the body because you aren't the body. It's just an instrument for consciousness. Now experience this world the same way. What is the world without labels? There is nothing out there, and nothing is happening if you drop all labels and ideas of the mind. The moment you say, but I know this is definitely happening. How do you know that? Where are you going to get that information? Because out there isn't telling you that. The mind is. It doesn't matter the situation. What you think is happening isn't happening. Can you relax in not knowing anything at all? Can you relax in not giving meaning to anything, including language? Can you relax knowing that none of this means anything? And what does that statement mean? It doesn't mean anything. If I say, life is meaningless, you don't have to figure out what that means because that doesn't mean anything. You have to notice that the mind is a filter over reality. It's creating what it thinks is happening, and it does this all the time. But go back to the foundation of everything, before the mind began labeling, believing, and learning about what this world is, and before it was taught to identify fire with anything here, before it began developing the concepts and ideas of fiction and non-fiction. It's constantly labeling things, identifying with things, judging things, creating problems. All of that is happening within because nothing is happening out there. Because there is no out there. The moment you claim that something is happening, it's coming from a belief of the mind, regardless of what it is. Simple things like even having a conversation. What does that even mean if you drop what a conversation is, or separation, or people? A conversation can still happen, but that's not actually what's happening at all. At a deeper level, nothing is happening. There isn't two people here talking to each other. That's just the narrative that the mind created to try to make sense of nothing. There is a truth to this reality, and it has nothing to do with what the mind is claiming this to be. The moment you claim you know what something is, realize that the mind created whatever that thing is that it thinks it knows. For example, look at any object around you. Notice how the one mind has come to an agreement about what that object is. Everyone calls that object a TV remote, but that's not what it is. It has no name at all. The mind gave it a name. In reality, it is what it is. It's ultimately nothing. It doesn't exist. See if you can look at everything without a label, including what we call the body. It's nothing without a label. Notice how the mind automatically labels something the moment you look at it. It may not even come as a thought, but there's a feeling that feels like, I know what that is. See past that because you don't know what anything is. Nobody does. The mind just created things, and it understands its own creation. But the mind's world and the truth of reality are genuinely two different places. The mind's world doesn't actually exist. It's all thought and imagination. But it's amazing. Notice this. These words you are hearing right now make sense, right? Well, what created language? The mind did. But in reality, it doesn't have any meaning. The mind simply gave its creation meaning. Go deeper. Go beyond the mind's meaning towards anything, and notice the foundation of reality. Notice where everything rises out of. Notice that the mind has a source. Thoughts have a source. Sensations have a source. This place, the source of the world, is free from the mind's world. It's free from everything, and it's what you are. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can for you to see what I mean, because it is a deep realization. When you realize it, it's as if you're seeing everything for the first time. You're seeing everything for what it is, which is ultimately nothing, but it completely shifts the way you view the world. It can really open you up. You can finally have gratitude for things, or a better word for that is appreciation. You simply appreciate everything for what it is, and that's a very powerful shift. If you see a tree, you don't even label it as a tree. You just admire how amazing or whatever that is. It's the same way you did as a child. Now, I do want to shift this to how this can help you tremendously when it comes to things like worrying or any form of suffering. Honestly, knowing that everything you believe is happening is only appearing to happen within you allows you to fully take responsibility for your reality, which puts you in a position of power. Knowing that nothing is actually happening out there can completely quell your fear and open up a deep presence within you. You'll no longer look on the outside to solve your problems because there are no problems out there. You'll no longer blame others for the way you are because there are no others out there. You'll no longer look for love, validation, and any need for the outside world because the world cannot offer you anything. There's nothing out there. Everything you want is within you. Fears, anxiety, worrying, etc., it's all within. It has nothing to do with the outside. For example, if you are sitting alone and you begin to worry about the future, if you just stop for a moment and become alert to what's happening on the outside, you will realize this story is happening within me. The whole narrative is happening within me, and outside of what's appearing within, nothing is happening at all. That whole story is simply a story. Even the characters that are involved in those stories of fear and worrying don't exist out there, including who you think you are. You'll realize that you're creating the world within yourself because there is no world outside. This world that you believe to be something only appears to exist within the mind. Your friends and family appear to exist within you. Who you think you are appears to exist within you. Others aren't who you believe they are because there is nobody out there. If you look at a body without attaching who you think they are, meaning you drop the relationship you think you have with them, drop the name, drop their past, drop their job title, drop their race and gender and any sort of judgment, just drop the mind's narrative of what you're seeing completely, then the person you believe they were no longer exists. Because the person you believe someone is a creation of the mind. And if you can look past all that, all you will find is yourself. Because that's not another person. There's nobody in that body. There's nobody in your body. It's all just consciousness playing with itself, just like in a dream. This world is very dreamlike, and as you begin to break through the layers of the mind, this becomes very obvious. It becomes very obvious that everything is you as in consciousness. The only thing here is you, and you're playing. That's all you're doing, and you can really enjoy this game of life any way you choose. You don't have to be a monk or a spiritual teacher. Please enjoy life. Live it. There's no need to avoid it. Allow the expression of your character to be fully expressed authentically, with no fear. What is there to fear if all this is you? Stop running away from yourself. What is there to fear if nothing is actually happening?